Despite hardly ever making history, the Armstrong Siddeley Sapphire 346 had a subtly remarkable backstory. One manufacturer dared to construct a luxury saloon that blended elegance, performance, and invention in a way few had anticipated in post-war Britain, when austerity was the norm and ambition frequently outpaced resources. At a period when the country was still establishing itself, the Sapphire 346 was more than just a car. It was a declaration of will and a vision of perfection. Nevertheless, in spite of its outstanding attributes, it faded into relative obscurity, leaving only hints of what may have been. What was so unique about this car? And why didn't it establish itself as one of the automotive icons of Britain? Britain was still recovering from the effects of World War II in 1952. Rationing persisted, factories were being rebuilt, and the automotive sector was under political and economic strain. It was difficult to sell luxury. The Sapphire 346 was intended to further solidify Armstrong Siddeley's standing as a manufacturer of high-end automobiles and sophisticated aircraft engines. It was a car that promised sophistication without sacrificing style. But in order to properly comprehend it, one must recognize the ambition that went into it. This car was intended to be a symbol of post-war resiliency, British workmanship, and subtle elegance rather than just a means of transportation. The Sapphire 346 engine is what initially makes it stand out. Beneath the lengthy hood was a straight-six engine that was designed for smoothness rather than power, yet it was nevertheless able to operate surprisingly well and with amazing finesse. Its sophisticated overhead valves, sturdy build, and emphasis on longevity would let owners take lengthy, smooth trips without worrying about mechanical failure. The Sapphire 346 provided an almost paradoxical combination of quiet, dependability, and surprising power at a period when many cars were having reliability issues and post-war shortages. For those who had the experience, the car seemed like an engineering marvel, a machine that was meticulously constructed with attention to detail. Despite all of its advantages, the Sapphire 346 had drawbacks. High-end British saloons were becoming less and less popular, and production was slow and expensive. The people were wary of spending on luxury since they were still concerned about rebuilding their own lives and rationing. The car was difficult for dealers to sell, and Armstrong Siddeley had to deal with the traditional conundrum of a niche manufacturer, creating a car that was prestigious yet difficult for the general public to purchase. Despite the devotion of its fans, subtle defects like complicated maintenance requirements and higher-than-average upkeep expenditures hampered its appeal. The automobile silently struggled with the realities of economics and market timing, despite its stunning finish and refinement. Beyond expense and engineering, the Sapphire 346 also carried a burden. Families that owned one saw it as a symbol of status, safety, and ambition in a country emerging from adversity. Driving it meant stepping into a realm of subdued power, where every little thing exuded tradition and care. More than luxury, the leather, gleaming wood, and painstaking craftsmanship were a reminder that beauty might still exist in the world. Statistics and sales figures rarely convey this car's emotional appeal. The quiet hum of the engine, the stability on damp British roads, and the feeling that, for a split second, one could transcend the residual austerity of the time are all remembered by those who experienced it. The Sapphire 346's greatest enduring memory is still this emotional imprint. The car served as both a boon and a liability for the business. Armstrong Siddeley's destiny was shaped by the tension it had to strike between financial survival and prestige. Though slow sales and hefty production costs put a strain on finances, the Sapphire 346 was meant to strengthen the brand's standing as a leading British manufacturer. It was a vehicle that showcased the company's technical expertise and aesthetic aspirations, but it also brought to light the constraints of being a boutique manufacturer in a rebounding economy. In many respects, the tale of the Sapphire 346 reflects post-war Britain as a whole, proud yet wary, inventive but fragile, and striving for greatness under duress. Even with its difficulties, the automobile had legendary moments. It was well known for its endurance, managing lengthy distances with poise and dependability that few of its peers could equal. Enthusiasts remember trips into the British countryside, frequently in inclement weather, with the car's straight six silently operating as though unaffected by weariness. Long tours, dependable dependability, and a composed command of the road were these key characteristics that solidified the Sapphire 346 standing with its contemporaries. It wasn't the fastest or most ostentatious car, but it had a dignified, tough, and quietly confident personality that few other cars could match. The destiny of the Sapphire 346 was ultimately determined by factors other than superior engineering. Its decline was caused by the growing power of mass-market automakers, changes in consumer preferences toward more contemporary and reasonably priced automobiles, and the unavoidable pressures of production costs. A few survivors remain, dispersed around Britain and overseas, after the type was phased out by 1958. Some were maintained by admirers who saw their subtle brightness, while others were lost to rust and neglect. It was a silent reminder of the thin line separating ingenuity from commercial feasibility, and its loss was definitive rather than dramatic. The Armstrong Siddeley Sapphire 346 is still a vehicle of hidden depth when viewed in retrospect. It captures a time in British history when adversity put creativity, grace, and fortitude to the test. It is an automobile worth remembering because of its sophisticated engineering, emotional relevance, and subtle impact on the company's legacy. It provides a lesson in ambition, taste, and the careful balancing act between aspiration and reality for people who value old cars. When you see one on the road, you're stepping back in time to a period when a car's charm and craftsmanship were integral to its identity. The Sapphire 346 is no longer widely available, yet it lives on in collectors' and enthusiasts' quiet admiration, memories, and images. It tells the tale of a firm striving for perfection, a Britain attempting to rebuild, and an automobile that, despite being forgotten by many, had a lasting impression on those who saw it. Its legacy, a genuine representation of the post-war British mentality, is dignified, durable, and subtly dazzling rather than ostentatious or boastful. Consider reading more tales like this one if you have liked this excursion into a little-known area of automobile history. Every automobile has a backstory, and some, like the Armstrong Siddeley Sapphire 346, are worthy of being remembered for their grace, tenacity, and compassion on the road rather than for their celebrity.